Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to our event, How Trends for Functional Foods Are Reformulating Modern Diet. My name is Dimitrios Agalas and I'm the Coordinated Communication Officer for EFSA related issues. On behalf of the State General Laboratory of the Republic of Cyprus and the National Sanitary, Veterinary and Food Safety Authority of Romania, we would like to thank you for your participation. It is essential to note that this event is under the support of the European Food Safety Authority, which we thank dearly. Before we begin our event, some housekeeping issues. The event will be recorded for documentation and knowledge sharing purposes. If you have any objections to being recorded, kindly inform us and we'll make every effort to accommodate your preferences. Of course, there will be 2 sessions in this event. At the end of each session, there will be a Q&A time where speakers will be answering your questions. And you can write any questions regarding the presented topics at the chat room at any time, but these will be answered at the Q&A session. And also, just a kind note for the speakers, I would like to kindly ask them to respect the time limit given to them and be as brief as possible. Well, with this, after all these things, I would like to officially open our event, and we have the privilege to welcome 3 distinguished representatives who will share their perspectives. On behalf of the President of the National Sanitary, Veterinary and Food Safety Authority of Romania, Mr. Septimiu Maricea, President's personal advisor. On behalf of the Director of Cyprus State General Laboratory, Mrs. Despo Christodoulou, Senior Chemist, and Mrs. Francesca Vanzini, Coordinator of the EFSA's Communication Expert Network at the European Food Safety Authority. I'll pass the floor to Mr. Septimiu. Good morning. Please unmute yourself. We cannot hear you.
Okay, yes. Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. I have the great honor to open the joint event focused on the changing the way we think about food and health, how trends for functional foods are reformulating modern diet. Nowadays, we increasingly turn to functional foods, meaning those foods that go beyond basic nutrition to offer added health benefits. These trends are shaping the way we view the very concept of a modern diet. Consumers' expectations for improving their health status and life expectancy justify the interest in functional foods as means to consolidate a nutritious and balanced lifestyle. However, regulatory aspects and challenges associated with reformulation, together with the need for objective evidence on the benefits provided by the functional foods, need to be carefully assessed for succeeding in having alternatives to the current solutions. We do hope that today's meeting will contribute in shedding light on evolving changes in dietary patterns and the risks versus benefits associated with these new trends. Today, we embrace the opportunity to share national experiences and best practices from Cyprus and Romania on reformulation policies, public communication, practices, and consumer behavior. This event should be viewed by participants as a forum for presenting new ideas and steer discussions with specialists from both Cyprus and Romania. The event of today is co-organized by the State General Laboratory of Cyprus and the National Sanitary, Veterinary and Food Safety Authority from Romania under the EFSA tailor-made activity on MSCC and lay down the foundation for future joint initiatives between Romania and Cyprus on coordinated communication in the field of food safety. I thank to our speakers of today for sharing with us, with all of you, their high level of expertise and experience. I also thank to Cyprus team because they accepted to be part of the today experience and for co-organizing this event with high professionalism. And last but not least, I have to express my gratitude to EFSA for giving us the opportunity to organize such an event as part of the focal point tailor-made activity. I am really excited to be part of this community comprising but not limited to researchers, risk assessors, and risk managers who are working together to unlock the full potential of food for health. I look forward also to the discussions today, and I encourage you all to consider how your work can contribute to this fascinating and impactful field. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
You're welcome.
Stimiou. I'll give the floor to Mrs. Despot Christodoulou, Senior Chemist from the State Laboratory, addressing a welcoming note from the Director of the Cyprus General State Laboratory, Mrs. Dr. Rebecca Kinofta. The floor to you.
Good morning to everyone. On behalf of our Director, who is unable to be with us today due to prior commitments, I am honored to deliver the welcome speech and to extend her warmest regards to everyone present. Dear participants, esteemed colleagues and friends, it is a pleasure and an honor to welcome you to this joint Cyprus-Romania online event on how trends for functional foods are reformulating modern diet. The first collaborative initiative between our two countries is organized within the Tailor-Made Activity Risk Communication, EU Member States Risk Communicator, and is supported by the European Food Safety Authority through its long-standing cooperation with national focal points. Today's event provides an excellent and dynamic platform to share experiences, exchange innovative ideas, and discuss both scientific and regulatory aspects of functional foods and food reformulation. Through this interactive exchange, we aim to promote open communication, strengthen professional dialogue, and build a deeper mutual understanding of the challenges and opportunities in this evolving field. These sessions will cover a broad and stimulating range of topics, from legal and labeling considerations, official controls, and Mediterranean diet approaches, to innovative reformulation trends and beyond. Our distinguished speakers will also explore practical challenges related to food reformulation, including potential food safety concerns, fortification, and technological innovation. Additionally, participants will have the opportunity to listen to and reflect on the thought-provoking topic: why are scientific food risk assessments sometimes poorly understood, embraced, and trusted by citizens? I would also like to emphasize the unique and truly valuable nature of this joint Cyprus and Romania initiative. Our close cooperation enhances professional networks, encourages constructive dialogue, and fosters the transfer of knowledge and expertise between our scientific communities. Such meaningful collaboration strengthens mutual learning, aligns best practices in risk communication and food innovation, and represents a vital step toward harmonizing approaches and improving public health outcomes across Europe. I would like to warmly thank our distinguished speakers from Romania, the Netherlands, and Cyprus for generously sharing their expertise, as well as all participants for contributing to a meaningful and engaging discussion. Your active participation strengthens our collective efforts within the European food safety community. Your commitment to scientific excellence and collaboration is deeply appreciated. Finally, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to EFSA and its staff for their continued support on food safety communications activities such as today's event. And we are honored to have with us Mrs. Francesca Ravangini, coordinator of EFSA's Communication Expert Network, who will deliver a welcome word. Thank you once again. I wish you a productive and inspiring workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Christodoulou. Now the floor goes to Mrs. Francesca Ravangini, coordinator of the EFSA's Communication Expert Network of the European Food Safety Authority.
Thanks, Dimitrios. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Francesca Avanzini. I'm a communication officer at EFSA, and I'm the coordinator of its Communication Experts Network. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today because this event that colleagues made a reality is actually one of the first to take place under the umbrella of our initiative of the Member States Communications Coordinator. This initiative is actually putting together a community of communications professionals providing clear, accessible, and coordinated localized food safety information to consumers. This community works alongside the Communication Experts Network, and together we make a network of people improving risk-coordinated communication activities throughout Europe. This, of course, has many more benefits because working together, providing consistencies in the messages we give to consumer helps ensuring trust and enhance the credibility in the EU food safety system. There is also a more effective use of resources. And here I would really like to thank our partners in Cyprus and Romania for taking the lead and being among the first to put together an event of this kind on a topic which is very much relevant in both countries. So thanks really from our side. Thank you for the commitment, the dedication, the openness. We are very much aware that working together, considering the different local contexts, can be challenging. Sometimes it's not an easy task, but it's also very much rewarding. Therefore, I would like to thank you because you reminded that together we are stronger. So I wish you all the best for this conference, and I do hope that we will see many of other similar events in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Avanzini and EFSA as well. Moving on to the session one, straightly we'll be discussing the regulatory aspects, official controls and scientific considerations on functional foods and food reformulation. For this reason, we are honored to have Mrs. Fernaritou, Senior Chemist at the State General Laboratory of the Republic of Cyprus, being the chair of the session. Mrs. Fernaritou, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dimitrios. Good morning to everybody, and thank you very much for your participation. The session one will start, and we will learn details on regulatory aspects regarding functional foods and how national official controls are conducted. And some functional foods benefit cancer patients, and we will also explore current challenges on the field. Our first speaker is Mr. Philippos Georgiadis, who is a Public Health and Environmental Hygiene Officer at the Ministry of Health of Cyprus. And he will give a presentation what functional foods are and the legal aspects of their labeling. Philippos, the floor is yours.
Yes, good morning from me. Okay, functional foods. Okay, next slide, please, Dimitri. Dimitri, thank you. Next slide. So, first of all, when we check about something, we must see if there is a legal definition. There is no legal definition for functional foods, either in the European Union or any country of the world. Also, there is no such definition in the well-known Codex Alimentarius. Go back, please. Many unofficial definitions exist worldwide for functional foods, but there is no commonly accepted definition. Next slide. Generally speaking, a functional food may be similar in appearance to or is a conventional food, is consumed as part of a normal diet, and has physiological benefits and or reduces the risk of chronic disease beyond basic nutrition. Some examples of functional food in the broader sense are iodized salt, vitamin A and D fortified milk, isotonic beverages, yogurt, folic acid enriched bread, tomatoes, broccoli, blueberries, cranberries, garlic, wheat bran, and oats. So in the broader sense, we see that functional foods can be the foods that are natural or that are processed. Processed, they are fortified, enriched, or contain functional ingredients. Next. We can see that some scholars give a strong connection of functional foods to medical science, while others less. In the first paragraph, you see something from Martirosyan and Singh. Functional foods can be defined as natural or processed foods containing known or unknown biologically active ingredients that at specified levels offer a medically shown and confirmed health benefit for the prevention, management, or treatment of chronic illness. But if we see the definition given by the IFT, the Institute of Food Technologies in USA, foods are defined as substances that provide essential nutrients that often exceed the quantities necessary for normal maintenance, growth, and development, and or other biologically active components that impart health benefits or desirable physiological effects. In this broader definition, next, yes. We see that especially in developed economies, there is a growing inclination towards healthier eating habits. This prompts consumers to have new needs compared to the past, specifically the desire for high quality products with multiple nutritional, beneficial, and functional properties for their bodies. Next, please. Now, what is allowed to be added to foods, either functional foods, either any food. But if we want to say that it's a functional food because it's beneficial nutritionally, we must check what regulation EC number 1925 of 2006 says. It contains specific rules on adding vitamins, minerals, and certain other substances to foods. Vitamins and minerals may not be added to unprocessed products, fruit, vegetables, meat, etc., and beverages containing more than 1.2% by volume of alcohol. The Annex 1 of the regulation contains the list of vitamins and minerals that may be added to foods. Only the chemical forms of these vitamins or minerals listed in Annex 2 of the regulation may be used. These forms were assessed by EFSA and found to be safe. Now, what is allowed to be added? The Article 6, Paragraph 6 of the regulation specifies that the addition of a vitamin or mineral to a food shall result in the presence of that vitamin or mineral in the food in at least a significant amount, where this is defined according to the Annex 13 Part A of Regulation 1169 of 2011. What is this? It says what in this part of 1169 regulation says that for beverages, 15% of the nutrient reference values are specified in point 1 supplied by 100 grams or ml in the case of products other than beverages, or 7.5% of the nutrient reference values specified in point 1 supplied by 100 ml in the case of beverages, and if there is only one portion in the package, if the portion it contains only the package, contains only a single portion, then it's again 15%. We have here an example the nutrient reference value for vitamin C is 80 milligrams. So if we find 15% for a not beverage, it's 12 milligrams per 100 grams. If it's beverage, it must be at least 7.5%, which is 6 milligrams per 100 ml. Next, please. We see that also there are maximum amounts of vitamins and minerals that shall not be exceeded. That's what the regulation says. But until today, the EU has not set such levels. There is being some discussion. And in any case, the food business operators who produce functional foods must consider EFSA literature and other scientific literature concerning maximum amounts added. In Annex 3 of the regulations, we have the list of substances whose use in foods is prohibited or restricted. We have some herbs in this annex, and one is ephedra here. Next, please. Now we move on to Regulation 1924 of 2006, which concerns health claims and nutrition claims on foods. I include this because it's very usual, popular to use such claims on functional foods. Now, how is a health claim defined? It means any claim that states, suggests, or implies that a relationship exists between a food category, a food, or one of its constituents, and health. One example here, vitamin C contributes to normal functioning of the nervous system. Now, what is a nutrition claim? This is a bit simpler, and it means any claim which states, suggests, or implies that a food has particular beneficial nutritional properties due to its energy and or nutrient, either reduced or increased. Example, high protein or low in salt. Next, please. I'd like to refer here a bit to the nutrient profiles. This is referred to in the regulation 1924. The intention was the paragraph I have below in italics. It's copied from the regulation. The application of nutrient profiles as a criterion would aim to avoid a situation where nutrition or health claims mask the overall nutrition status of a food product, which could mislead consumers when trying to make healthy choices in the context of a balanced diet. Can we go back, please, Dimitris? I'd like to say that it was the intention that originally that only if you comply with this nutrition profile, you can add a claim to a food, but this was not at any time followed by the EU and the member state. There were discussions, they were too complicated. There was unfortunately lack of consensus between member states. The whole matter remains frozen. Next, please. Now, I'd like to just make a note that a functional food may bear a health claim and or nutrition claim, or may not. For example, if it is a cranberry or a tomato, it will not have such claim. However, in the inclusion of a health claim on its label may make its appeal to consumers significantly stronger. And we must realize that the healthiness of a food is not perceived in the same way by all consumers. Some think that it's what matters to them is low in salt, low in sugar. It must not be highly processed. It must be more natural, or they have a specific preference for nutrients depending on their age, their physical condition, if they are athletes, and so on. Nutrition claims. There are specific conditions for the use of nutrition claims. These are given in the annex to Regulation 1924. I have here one example. source of the name of vitamin, example, source of vitamin C. Claim that the food is the source of vitamins, and any claim likely to have the same meaning for the consumer may only be made where the product contains at least a significant amount as defined in Annex 13 of 1169 regulation, the thing I spoke about just before. Next, please. Here I have an example of a smoothie, popular beverage, bearing nutrition claims. You can see the one they are in the circle. One is no added sugar. If you have this nutrition claim, no added sugars, but the food has natural sugar, inside, you have to write this. Unfortunately, it's on the other side of the bottle. You don't see, but I make this reference to you. And you also see in the other sector, source of vitamin C. If you see the nutrition table to the right, vitamin C is 13 milligrams. That is 16% of the NRV. So it's okay because in the case of beverage, we said at least 7.5%. The NRV here we have 16%. But if we look in the top left corner, it says 1 of your 5 a day. So even if we say this is a single portion, it's more than 15% of the NRV, so we are okay. Next. Here I like to stress here the ingredients of this smoothie. You see that it's only juices and juice extracts, so no added sugars, but also no added sweeteners. But overall, only 2 nutrition claims and no health claim. For somebody, this might be appealing, very appealing because of its naturalness. For others, because it hasn't got a health claim, it might be maybe less appealing. Next, please. Now, here we go to another product. It's a fruit drink, and we see that we will see that it bears a health claim. In the purple, I have an arrow there. It says a general non-specific benefit. If you add such a indication on the labeling of food, you have to have an approved health claim. The approved health claim on this product is with the orange arrow above. You see vitamins B6, B12, and zinc contribute to the normal function of the immune system as part of a balanced diet and healthy lifestyle. With the blue arrow, we can also see above an approved nutrition claim, which says that free immunity contains vitamin B6, B12, pantothenic acid, E, and zinc. Next, please. Here we look at the ingredients of these products. We see that apart from juices, it has sweeteners, sucralose, acesulfame K, and stevia glycoside. Also, it has some acidifiers, citric acid, and antioxidant ascorbic acid. So we see that generally it's not as natural as the smoothie product. So that here, up to you, the consumer, to decide which is better for you, which is more appealing, which you think is a better functional food. Next, please. The health claims are regulated, as we said, in Regulation 1924 of 2006. And the most important condition is that only approved health claims can be used. And these approved health claims are approved by the European Committee through EFSA. The approved health claims with their conditions of use are given as concerns claims that do not refer to the reduction of disease risk and to children's development and health in Regulation 432 of 2012, which is updated anytime we have new claims added. Then, as regards claims that concern the reduction of disease risk for children's development and health, these are examined separately and are given in separate regulations. As you may understand, these are more serious health claims, so you have to be more careful. Here is an example of a health claim not concerning the reduction of disease risk of children's development and health. It says that for vitamin C, the claim is that vitamin C contributes to the normal function of the immune system. And the
Felipe, you
conditions
have only 1 minute.
are
1
given
minute
there.
left.
Next, please. Next, please. Next slide. Here we have an example of a more complicated claim that concerns the reduction of disease of children's development. It's specifically a reduction of disease. It's a copy from this regulation 1160 2011. The nutrient is oat beta-glucan. The claim is beta-glucan has been shown to lower reduced blood cholesterol. High cholesterol is a risk factor in the development of coronary heart disease. At the other side, we have the conditions of use. Next, please. Now, to make things easier, the European Union has a database online in which you can search for any health claim, either approved or not. You can write in the search there anything you like, and you can choose between approved or not. And in this way, the food business operator can easily choose what is good for his product. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Georgiadis, for giving us the whole picture of the legislative aspect at EU and international level. We are now moving on to our second speaker, who will be Mrs. Aspasia Sarandi on behalf of Mrs. Naso Economidou, who for unforeseen seasons she cannot be with us. The title is Official Controls on Functional Foods in Cyprus, and Mrs. Aspasia Sarandi is chemist at the Food Composition, Food Quality and Nutritional Value Lab of Cyprus State General Laboratory. Aspasia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Haritini, for giving me the floor. Give me 1 second to share my screen and to begin with the presentation. 1 moment. Kindly confirm that you can see my presentation in presentation mode. Is it okay?
No, we can see your browser, especially.
My browser. Okay. 1 moment to give it one more try. Otherwise, I will ask you to share my screen. Okay, I'll stop sharing now. Share screen. Okay. I think I'm sharing. What about now, Dimitrios? Can you please confirm that you can see it?
No.
No,
Dimitrios, Dimitrios, can you share the? Okay, Dimitrios is going to share.
Okay.
The presentation, Aspasia. Don't worry.
Yes. Okay. I have to. Okay. Okay, can you please put it in a full screen mode? Thank you very much. Apologize for this problem on sharing. Well, and of course, I would like to extend Mrs. Economidou's apologies. She's homesick. So I will deliver this presentation on her behalf. And the presentation has to deal with the official controls in Cyprus. And let me begin with the role of the State General Laboratory as it concerns official controls. The State General Laboratory of Cyprus is the primary official national laboratory for chemical, biological, microbiological, and toxicological laboratory testing. and it is the National Control Center for Food, Medicines and Other Industrial Products, as well as narcotics and police evidence. It cooperates closely with the competent authorities at national level, Ministry of Health and Ministry of Agriculture, and it actively participates in the design and implementation of official control, monitoring and surveillance programs. The SGL consists of 19 specialized laboratories, which are all accredited according to ISO 17025. And of course, there are 11 out of 19 laboratories which are exclusively responsible for control of foodstuffs, with the aim of ensuring food safety, food quality and authenticity of food on the Cypriot market and consequently in the EU market, mainly focusing to the protection of public health. Next slide, please. Mr. Georgiadis has already mentioned that the regulatory framework concerning functional foods, and there are three main regulations on this matter. The first one, 1169 of 2011, aiming at providing consumers information about food, indicating what must be communicated to consumers. The other regulation, 1924, aiming to promote fair competition and protect the consumer. In other words, what can be communicated to consumers concerning health claims and nutrition claims, which must be accurate, clear, and at each time based on scientific evidences. And the third regulation, 1925 of 2006, which refers to the addition of vitamins, minerals, and certain other substances to foods. In simple words, this regulation says what may be added to food by the food industry. Next slide, Demetrios. Now, how is connected food reformulation with the official controls? If we think of what food reformulation is, in simple words, is the modification of the composition of a food product aiming to improve its nutritional profile. So by starting with the composition, food business operators are aiming to reduce salt, sugars, saturated fat, trans fatty acids, and they're also aiming to increase beneficial components in food items. Of course, we have the legal obligations, the legal framework, and that leads us, something happened to my camera, but excuse me for that. Okay. So, and that leads us to the official controls, that they are performed by the official laboratories, such as the State General Laboratory of Cyprus, in close collaboration with the competent authorities at country level for the protection of public health and for ensuring the compliance of the market. So reformulation targeting to the production of functional foods requires composition analysis, label updates by food business operators, and official controls to verify the accuracy and compliance. Functional foods reformulation must be consistent with the conditions of use for any nutrition or health claim, and it must respect permitted levels and safety assessments for any added nutrient substance. Next slide, please. In the slide here, you can see the official control of foods concerning the regulation for food information to consumers in Cyprus. So the food sample categories included in this official control scheme are milk and milk products, processed meat products, savories and snacks, spreads, cooking fats, chocolates and cocoa products, seeds and other products from the market, from Cyprus market. The main parameters tested are total proteins, total fat, including fatty acid profiles, total sugars and sugars profile, salt expressed as sodium chloride, mineral and trace elements. The most commonly non-conforming parameters, one slide back, Demetrios, please. Okay, so the most common non-conforming parameters in this case have to do with saturated fatty acids, total fat and total sugar, and there is a plot at the bottom of the slide where you can see in blue column the total number of samples tested for their labeling, and in orange color the columns having the total number of non-compliant samples. Next slide, please. As it comes to the checking of the conformity of the market with the regulation concerning the nutritional claim, the food categories included to the official control plans in Cyprus are mainly food consumed by vulnerable population groups in Cyprus, such as children and adolescents. And in these categories, we usually test rice cakes, cereal bars, yogurts, desserts, and other food items from school canteens. We are testing foods that have been modified to increase their content of a component that provides a health benefit. For example, in the Cyprus market, we have eggs rich in omega-3 fatty acids, and these are produced through the modification of the poultry feed. We are including foods that have been fortified with a new ingredient with a positive effect on health. For example, fortification of dairy products with iron and calcium. And we are also including foods that, due to their natural composition, can't be characterized as functional, such as fish or olive oil, which is well known for its content on monounsaturated fatty acids. The chemical parameters tested are total proteins, total fat and fatty acid profile, total dietary fibers, total sugars and sugars profile, minerals and trace elements. The testing minerals and elements are, you can see them in the brackets, and of course the salt content. Next slide, please. In this slide, we can see an example from a margarine that we have tested in our lab. This margarine, this product, contains a nutrition claim indicating that this product is a source of omega-3 fatty acids. At the lab level, we had to do 3 steps. The first step is verification. Through verification, it must be verified by the lab that the claim on the foods label is included in the list of permitted claims based on the regulation 1924 concerning the nutritional claims. So, as I said before, there is a claim indicating that the product is a source of omega-3 fatty acids, and indeed this is an approved official claim based on the regulation. The second thing that we had to do in the lab had to do with the confirmation of the labeling. So through laboratory analysis, we should confirm that the specific food item complies with the conditions for using the certain claim. And indeed, from the laboratory analysis, the concentration of alpha-linolenic acid per 100 grams of food was determined to be equal with 2.2 grams per 100 grams. As a third step, the lab needed to assure that on the food's label, where a nutrition claim is indicated, the conditions of using the claims were also met. So based on the regulation, to satisfy the claim, source of omega-3 fatty acid, the food should contain at least 0.3 grams of alpha-linolenic acid, which is, as I said before, an omega-3 fatty acid per 100 grams of product. So we found in our lab that the product contained 2.2 grams of alpha-linolenic acid per 100 grams of food. So indeed, the product fulfilled the conditions of use. So it was a confirmatory. It was a product that was allowed to be in the Cyprus market. Next slide, please. Here you can see the basic nutrition claims that we are mostly testing in our labs, and we're mostly facing in the food labels from Cyprus market. The most common nutrition claims are source of omega-3 fatty acids or high in omega-3 fatty acids, reduced fat, light products, source of protein or high protein, source of fiber, high fibers, source of a certain mineral or high in a certain mineral, and reduced saturated fat. These are the most common claims of the tested samples in our lab. In the plot on your right hand, you can see the numbers of the total numbers of samples analyzed for the regulation concerning health claims and nutrition claims. These are the blue boxes, and in orange color you can see the number of non-compliant samples. From the period between 2019 until today, we can see that the 95% of the samples tested that bore nutrition claims on their labeling were compliant with the requirements of the certain regulation, and that shows the effectiveness of the official control. Some non-compliant samples had to do with the use of claims concerning high proteins, because less than 20% of energy value of the analyzed sample was determined to be provided by protein content. High in iron, as the tested sample was not found to contain at least 30% of iron's reference value, and reduced fat, as no reduction of at least 30% of fat was found to the analyzed samples compared to their similar conventional product. These are the conditions for using the specific health claims, and unfortunately in the non-conforming samples, these conditions were violated. Next slide, please. As far as it concerns the third regulation that we have discussed, concerning the allowance of certain vitamins or minerals to be added to food items, SGLs also systematically monitors and evaluates the fatty acid profile with emphasis to the determination of saturated and trans fatty acids, as these have been shown to have harmful effects in human health. So in this regulation, there is also a legislative limit of less than 2 grams per 100 grams of fat and for trans fatty acid. And for this regulation, we only refer to industrial fatty acids, meaning that trans fats that are naturally occurring constituents of fat of animal origin are excluded from this regulation. So from the last 10 years period, we have tested in our lab more than 200 samples. The official control outcomes in Cyprus shows that the legislation on industrial fatty acids is being satisfactorily implemented within the framework of the EU regulation. The continuation of monitoring is deemed necessary, of course, to maintain population intake at the lowest possible levels as it comes to trans fatty acid and saturated fatty acids, and as per EFSA scientific opinion. Most of the sample analyzed carried correct labeling with respect to saturated fat content, with exhibiting low concentrations of trans fatty acids. But we still have high concentrations of saturated fatty acids, and this is mainly due to the fact that we have replaced industrial fats. The food business operators replaced industrial fats, which were high in trans fatty acids, with other oils rich in saturated fats, mainly palm oil and cottonseed oil. Next slide, please. Next slide, thank you. Our laboratory is conducting an ongoing scientific study on the development of Cyprus food composition table. In general, it's good to know that food composition tables are an important tool for health and education professionals, since it can be used in research regarding the impact of diet on health and in the development of specialized nutrition programs, in the assessment of nutrition value of foods, in the promotion of public health through nutritional recommendations, and of course, it can be used by health professionals in addressing various chronic, non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. Cyprus food composition tables is worth to say that they're based exclusively on laboratory chemical analysis, whereas most international food composition tables rely mainly on estimates from literature. All samples were analyzed individual and not as composite, and that gives the user the possibility to access the full range of values for each parameter. And they provide detailed analytical results for traditional Cypriot foods for which no bibliographic or other references or other laboratory data exists. They present also the actual composition of foods, which they often differ from the composition of similar foods that they are produced in other countries. Currently, we have the third edition for Cyprus food composition tables. If you click on the link on the presentation, you can have access to this third edition that contains 724 samples tested for several different parameters of food items. Next slide, please. So, as a concluding remark, for this presentation, we can see that for the past 6 years, there is official control in Cyprus market, but still around 12.5% of food items are still non-compliant with certain regulations. So that is why it is essential for our laboratory, in the same way that I feel that it's essential for all the laboratories at the EU, to closely collaborate with competent authorities and to continue the systematic and comprehensive control of functional foods, aiming to safeguard public health, ensure the protection of consumers from misinformation relating to the food labeling. This ongoing monitoring aims to guarantee that all functional food products placed on the market comply with the applicable legislation, they're accurately labeled, and they do not mislead consumers regarding their composition, their properties, or their functional or health-related claims. So, of course, we would like to underline that the primary responsibility for ensuring compliance with EU legislation on functional foods and food labeling lies with food business operators and producers, but member states, competent authorities, and official laboratories are tasked with carrying out official controls, enforcing the relevant provisions, and safeguarding the integrity of the market and the protection of their consumers. So just a takeaway home message is that it is necessary to continue monitoring and official control in order to ensure the protection of all citizens, and especially focusing this protection to vulnerable population groups such as children, adolescents, pregnant women, and anyone else. Thank you very much for your attention, and I give back the floor to Mrs. Frenaridou.
Thank you, Aspasia, Serandi, and also I want to thank Mrs. Naso Economidou for this presentation. It seems that a lot of work is conducted every year from the EU member states under the national official controls. Let's go now to our third speaker with the presentation, Mediterranean Diet and Functional Foods, Preventing Recurrence and Cancer-Related Fatigue in Colorectal Cancer Survivors. And our speaker is Mr. Dimitris Papamichail, who is a clinical dietitian, member of the board of Cyprus Dietitian and Nutrition Association, and a placement educator of the University of Nicosia, Cyprus. So, Mr. Papamichail, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for the invitation. And in this presentation, we describe how the Mediterranean diet and functional foods can contribute to the prevention of cancer recurrence and the reduction of fatigue in people who have survived from colorectal cancer. As you, next slide, yes. As you can see, the presentation will be divided into 5 thematic sections. Next slide. According to data in 2022, about 2 million new cases of colorectal cancer were diagnosed. This number represents 9.6% of total cancer types and is ranked as the 3rd most common cancer. Continuing, according to the Global Can 2020, an increase in the new cases will be observed mainly in countries with the lowest incidence rate, including Eastern Mediterranean. In Europe, survival rate ranks from 50 to 60%, and this based on the stage and location of the disease. Next slide. For Cyprus, from 1998 to 2022, were diagnosed about 8,000 new cases of colorectal cancer. The survival rate during this period has increased. Data are showing that in stage 1 cancer survival rate have increased from 87 to 90%. In stage 2 and 3, survival rate has increased from 71 to 77%, and for metastatic cancer from 10 to 60%. Conversely, data in Romania, the survival rate ranks from 43 to 68%. With all of the above data, it appears that the number of people who have survived colorectal cancer is increasingly every year. So it's important to see what is going on with these people after the treatment. Next slide, please. According to a meta-analysis published in 2020 in Cancer Nursing, patients who recover from cancer are at increased risk of developing degenerative diseases, decreased of quality of life. They have also sleep disorders, fatigue, depression, anxiety, and increased risk of cancer recurrence. 2 conditions that have attracted considerable interest in recent years are cancer-related fatigue and the risk of recurrence. Next slide. Thank you. Now let's see about recurrence. What is the pathophysiology and epidemiology of it? Cancer recurrence is thought to be due to micrometastatic clones of the original tumor. The recurrence rate ranged from 30 to 80% based on the stage when the treatment is surgery alone, but this rate decreases to 6 to 30% when adjuvant chemotherapy is also given. Next slide, please. On the other hand, fatigue is a condition that can persist for more than 5 years after the complete completion of the treatment and affect up to 35% of survivors. Individuals who experience fatigue often experience cognitive dysfunction, hot flashes, reduction in physical function, insomnia, depression, and a significant reduction in quality of life. Those who have undergone chemotherapy are at particular risk. So in cases where adjuvant chemotherapy has been performed to prevent recurrence of the disease, this automatically increases the level of fatigue. Additionally, contributing factors include gender, educational level, and the presence of comorbidities. Some possible pathophysiological mechanisms are hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis dysfunction, circadian rhythm disruption, increased pro-inflammatory cytokines, skeletal muscle loss, and certain genotypes. Next slide. Now, what are the current dietary guidelines for people who have had colorectal cancer? Since 1997, the World Cancer Research Fund International with the American Institute of Cancer Research every 10 years have published a cancer prevention guide. This guide contained instruction not only for preventing the disease, but also for preventing the recurrence. These guidelines also separate instruction for each type of cancer. And what are the recommendations for people who have survived from colorectal cancer? Click next. So, as you can see in the pop-up message, currently cancer survivors are advised to follow general cancer and chronic disease prevention guidelines. These include the recommendation to adopt a healthy eating pattern, such as Mediterranean diet. Next, please. So, several biological mechanisms could support the role of Mediterranean diet in reducing both cancer recurrence and fatigue. The Mediterranean diet is rich in polyphenols, omega-3 fatty acids, and dietary fibers, which can modulate inflammation, oxidative stress, and immune function. These are key processes involved in cancer progression and recurrence. Also, the anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective effect that the nutrients in the Mediterranean diet contain maybe mitigate the cancer-related fatigue. These mechanisms provide a basis for investigating the real impact of adhering to the Mediterranean diet. Next slide, please. So, according to what we mentioned earlier, we expect that Mediterranean diet would have a significant effect on reduction the risk of recurrence. However, although the guidelines state that Mediterranean diet reduces the risk of developing the disease, this does not apply to the risk of recurrence. Why is that? Next, please. The first reason is, of course, the small amount of data that exists so far, but it's not only that. When the studies are analyzed individually, it was observed that many of them link the effect of dietary habits before diagnosis with the risk of recurrence and fatigue. This raises the question, do the dietary habits of cancer patients change at diagnosis and after the completion of the treatment? A systematic review published in the Journal of Human Nutrition and Dietetics examined this question with results showing that the dietary habits change statistically significantly, not only in terms of energy intake and nutrients, next, but also at food level. This immediately raised a next question. Do people who follow Mediterranean diet after completing treatment have a lower risk of recurrence and fatigue level? Next. Noting this gap in research, we conduct a new systematic review in the attempt to answer the previous question. Thus, in this review, we include studies that assess the degree of adhering to Mediterranean diet after the completion of the treatment. Next slide. As expected, the number of studies that met the criteria was very small. Specifically, only 2 studies studied the effect of Mediterranean diet on cancer-related fatigue, and 6 the effect on diet to reduce the risk of recurrence. Next slide. However, we conclude that the trend of the correlation of Mediterranean diet with the risk of recurrence and the level of fatigue is positive. Continuing through this review, another question was raised. Could Mediterranean diet alone have a protective effect in people with colorectal cancer? So we go back to the, no, wait, please. Thank you. We go back to the guidelines from American Institute of Cancer Research, and we see that some foods may have an additional benefit or harm effect to the effect on the outcome. Next. So we continue our search to answer this question. Yeah, we go on. Starting our search, we found that the consumption of nuts contribute the reduction of risk of recurrence and reduce the fatigue. And more specific, the tree nuts. These are almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, peanuts, and pistachios. Next slide. These group foods are rich in nutrients such as monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat, protein, and dietary fibers. They are also rich in vitamins and minerals, and they have also a number of active metabolites such as phenolic acid, phytosterols, carotenoids, and polyphenolic compounds. Some of these compounds present in nuts, they have antimicrobial and anti-proliferative properties. What that means? That means nuts have the ability to prevent or inhibit or slow the rate of spread of cancer cells and reduce the risk of recurrence. In May 20, the previous slide, please. Thank you. In May 2024, there was a large search campaign in the scientific literature on the effect of food on the course of people who have survived from colorectal cancer. In this search, it was observed that people who consumed more than one serving of nuts per day had a 31% lower risk of cancer recurrence. Next slide. So let's go to the next food group, that is the red and processed meat. As it seems, this food group have a negative relationships with cancer recurrence. The reason behind this is the production of heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are created during the cooking of meat at high temperature. Also, in this metabolic path involved and the high amount of iron, saturated fat, salt, and nitrates. Go on. And the next food group, which was studied, was milk and dairy products. Next. Through a review of literature and a large study involved more than 500 people who have faced colorectal cancer, it appears that the consumption of skim milk and low-fat yogurt reduce statistically significantly the risk of recurrence. Next. Now, what nutrients have this effect? The nutrients that seems to involve in the reduction are calcium, vitamin D, linoleic acid, butyric acid, lactoferrin, and yeast. The action of each nutrient is not fully analyzed, but there is some data for calcium and vitamin D. Firstly, calcium seems to reduce the bile and fatty acid binding, and through this mechanism and also through other pathways, it reduces the toxicity that the intestine can suffer when exposed to such substance. Also, calcium promotes cell differentiation, inhibits the proliferation of pathogenic colic cells in the epithelium, and inhibits mutation in the KRAS genes. On the other hand, vitamin D inhibits angiogenesis, reduce oxidation and DNA disruption, and modify and inhibit the pathological course of the APC genes through the action of B-serine. Of course, some of you could say that those two nutrients could be obtained through supplements. As confirmed through studies, this action is not the same through supplements, and this is probably due to the fact that other nutrients contained in the dietary products, in the dairy products, also participate and act synergetically with the above to achieve the results. And how much dairy intake should be to achieve this result? Next, please. According to research, people who consume approximately 11 servings of dairy products per day, per week, statistically significantly reduce the risk of colorectal cancer recurrence. Next. Now, about drinking one serving of sugar-sweetened beverages a day increase the risk of recurrence. On the other hand, drinks with sugar substitute does not seem to increase the risk of recurrence directly. However, these products could increase blood pressure, body weight, and increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, as mentioned before. This condition can increase the risk of recurrence, so this relationship is indirect. According to the new data, the ideal quantity of sugar intake is less than 2 teaspoons per week. So what we recommend in daily practice? We recommend avoiding the systematic consumption of this product, with their consumption occurring when this is social obligation. Next slide. And what about the one of the most popular beverage, the coffee? We know that oxidative stress increases toxicity, which can contribute to the alteration and mutation of genes promoting the carcinogenesis, and at the same time may increase the fatigue. Coffee and decaffeinated products have a range of polyphenols. Polyphenols are, as we know, it's a powerful antioxidant. Thus, through this anti-inflammatory action, coffee can reduce oxidative stress and indirectly reduce the risk of recurrence and fatigue. What type of coffee should I consume? As it turns out, all types of coffees have this antioxidant, but one point that we must keep in mind is that cafestol and caffeol, two of the polyphenols, seem to increase blood pressure. A large amount of these two antioxidants are present in unfiltered hot coffee. So, if we were to come out with a comprehensive guidelines for coffee consumption, I would say drinking coffee is good, but it would be better if to filter coffee, especially in people with high blood pressure. Next slide. Another important issue is Another
2 minutes more.
Okay.
2 minutes more, please.
Thank you. Another important issue is the glycemic response of food. As can be seen, people who consume food which can rise the blood glucose rapidly have a higher risk of cancer recurrence. More deeply, after consumption of this kind of food, the blood glucose rapidly increases. At the same time, insulin increase, and increasing insulin increase another hormone called insulin-like growth factor. This high amount of insulin-like growth factor in the blood is correlated with cancer recurrence. But what is glycemic load, which you can see at the headline? Probably some of you, or please click for the next slide. Thank you. Probably some of you already know about the glycemic index is. It is usually a terminology used to describe how much a food can raise blood glucose. Scientifically, in terms of glycemic index, describe how much blood glucose will increase with the consumption of 100 grams of food. On the other hand, glycemic load describe how much the blood glucose will increase if we consume one portion of the food. So, for example, while consuming 100 grams of honey can increase very much the blood glucose, if we consume one portion of honey, which is 5 grams only, blood glucose will not increase so much. So when we're deciding which food is more risky, we should not only consider what type of food is risky, but also what amount of the food is risky. Next slide. The last nutrient that has been associated with the reduction of recurrence is dietary fiber and whole grain products. As stated in the Global Cancer Information Renewal Program, each increasing in the intake of whole grain products reduces the risk of recurrence about 10%. The mechanism behind the relationship is the production of small chain fatty acids in the intestine after metabolism of dietary fibers. These fats improve the gut microbiome, resulting in a protection effect against cancer. The last slide. Based on all of the above, our research team at the University of Nicosia designed and implemented an intervention protocol. Our goal was to have a colorectal cancer survivor adopt a modified form of Mediterranean diet enriched with these functional foods. And because I like to finish my presentation with a message, since I would like, and since most of you are involved in the health sector, I would like to confirm that Mediterranean diet is safe and healthy dietary model for people who have faced cancer and specific colorectal cancer. Thank you. And the last one, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Papamichail, for such an interesting presentation regarding the outcomes of you and your team research. Thanks a lot. Now we are moving on to our fourth and last for this session presentation from Professor Corina Aurelia Zougrafou, who is a professor at Carol Davila University of Medicine and Pharmacy in Bucharest, heading the Department of Nutrition and Environmental Health. And her presentation is Reformulation Trends in Romania. In which direction do we go? So, Professor,
thank you.
Go.
I hope you hear me and you see the screen.
Very well, very well.
Thank you very much for the introduction. You see that in the title of my presentation, there is a question mark, and we question even now ourselves, in which direction should we go? I'll be quick. I will not give you many details about reformulation because you know what we are speaking about. There are the two directions, either reducing some nutrients linked to negative effects, because you cannot say a nutrient is really negative. There is no negatives. There are no negatives and positives in nutrition. After all, there is a question of quantity, but by reducing sodium, saturated fatty acid, and so on, this is one branch of reformulation. And on the other hand, we can increase, sometimes simultaneously with reducing the bad ones, we can increase the content of beneficial nutrients. Reformulation needs an interdisciplinary collaboration. It's not just nutrition. It's not just food science. It's something very complicated. And I remember that in the 2000, maybe 7 or 8, I was told by a food scientist that, oh, well, the formulation is done. It's something from the past. We don't need it anymore. It has been done. Fast forward 15 years, and still this is a very important topic in health science. After all, reformulation raises some problems that cannot be ignored, and the main problem covers food safety. The durability of products sometimes relies on salt, sugar, so reformulation has to be adapted. On the other hand, we have recipes. We cannot substitute all the sugar with something healthier because the recipe will not be the same. You can see this in your own home if you are trying to do cakes. There is also the consumer acceptability. And I know many cases when reformulation was a stealth one. No one knew. The consumers were not aware that the salt, for example, was lower than before because consumers can refuse to eat a product if they know that it has a lower quantity of salt or a lower quantity of sugar, even though sometimes you cannot tell it just by the taste. But if you inform the consumer, the acceptability can be lower than before. All these problems have to be resolved by R&D, and this comes at a price. It's not a cheap thing. So reformulation, it's not something that we carry out in a very simple way. What happened in Romania? In Romania, we had protocols of voluntary reformulation with industry. And this was a very old thing since 2010. First, the protocols covered salt that has been extended in 2012 to sugar and fats. The protocol expired in 2017, and then we extended it again until now, when we are in some kind of still reformulation, but no protocols have been, newer protocols have been signed anymore. Well, we focused in our national monitoring programs on salt, and we have data, for example, in different products. In 2011, what you see here is 2011 versus 2018. We hoped that after those protocols, the salt in different products we found in 2018 was far lower than 2011, and it was not. You see here different products. Here we have cheeses, then cold cuts, snacks. We see that in 2018, the quantities were not lower than in 2018, than in 2011. And we also gathered data regarding salt in different catering products or in fast foods or in private homes. And we see that there are big differences and not a lower quantity of salt in time. Here we have a graphic with median values, 2010 versus 2011. And obviously, we hoped that in 2018, the values should have been lower, and they are not. Especially, we have here some, I don't know, it was some wurst, and the quantity was far higher, so no reformulation at all. On the opposite, in 2018, we have seen lower quantities of salt in catering products and in some fast food products. And we were very happy about it because at least those values showed that at last Romanians were eating less salt than before. On food groups, again, we see that in 2018, nothing has been done in certain classes of foods, in some processed cheeses, in cremwurst, in some types of bologna. Things were not good at all. On the opposite, there were some products that had lower salt. Now we have values in 2024. Sorry, because everything is in Romania, but I will translate. I didn't have the raw data to redo the graphics. What can we see here in 2024 compared to 2018? That here we have catering, fast food, and what people are preparing in their homes. Not only the salt used is not lower than before, but it has a reason. Especially in fast food pizza, we see much more salt than before, and even in houses, different dishes prepared in people's home, the quantity of salt is bigger than in 2018. And then again, we have here a comparison between different products in 2011, then in 2018, and then in 2024. This data originates in labels reading, and we see that unfortunately, with some exceptions, some snacks, for the rest, now we do not see a consistent lowering of salt in different processed foods we can find on the Romanian market. Meanwhile, we were also involved in some European projects of regulation. Some of them you know already. I think you know all of them already and were involved in some of them. It was JANPA, it was EUREMO that monitored reformulation in the EU. It was top factors that have contribution to the spread of childhood obesity in European countries. It was CoCreate, which also covered adolescents which were involved in obesity preventive evidence-based policies. So a lot of studies. In JANPA, Romania was involved. We had some data, and then it came REMAP, and REMAP was a wide project, you know about it, and the Work Package 5 targeted reformulation of processed foods. We like it or not, but in our days, a lot of processed foods we find in supermarkets are eaten. So monitoring the supply of processed foods at brand level was considered very useful, and it served and will serve as the basis for reformulation intervention. The main idea, and I am fully aware that this is a very important idea, is that increasing the supply of healthier processed food options in EU supermarkets has the potential to improve the population's diet and can lead to measurable health benefits in future, because health benefits do not come very quickly. For Romania, we analyzed these types of foods. We had data from JANPA just for breakfast cereals and soft drinks, and we compared what was found in 2022 with data from 2016 for JANPA, and we draw some conclusions. Obviously, in future, all other type of data will be covered. Well, what have we found? Now, regarding the offer, we have seen that for breakfast cereals and soft drinks, the offer on the market was consistently higher in 2022. I don't know who needs much more soft drinks on the market, but there were much more soft drinks types on the market, and we will see that not only healthier ones. Then what about breakfast cereals? Unfortunately, it was just the red part with reformulated products. A lot of products went away from the market and were substituted with newer products. Maybe because consumers, when they see a new product, assume that it is a healthier one, which in practice, frequently it is not. And again, same things were found about soft drinks. Just 21% were reformulated. A lot of them were taken away from the market and new products appeared. One way to carry out reformulation is the work on the portion size. what can we see? That in 2022, no less products had on the label the portion size for breakfast cereals and for soft drinks. And what's interesting, for breakfast cereals, we found all types of portion sizes, mainly 30 grams per portion, which is, I think, far too low. The 30 grams is not taking into consideration reality. But on the other hand, we also found some fantastic recommendations where 100 grams were considered one portion of breakfast cereals. Okay, now we have box plots that compare different nutrients in breakfast cereals and in soft drinks in 2022 and in 2016 when JAMPA was carried out. What we can see that, of course, here we have the graphic for fat distribution in breakfast cereals. Of course, the median values are lower in many products, with some notable exceptions like field cereals, where they felt the need to put much more fat in the product in order to be obviously more attractive for the consumers. But even in products that have lower values in 2022, we see huge whiskers of the box plots. So what is the conclusion here is that many products can have very low quantities of fat in themselves, but so there is the possibility, the industry has to know that there are possibilities to lower the fat, but they do not do it. Some do it, and products have very low fat content. Others, instead, we have outliers that have huge levels of fat in their products. So there is a leeway. There are possibilities to lower the content of fat, but not many are doing this. This is exactly the saturated fat. Again, we see huge spans between higher values and lower values. So industry has the possibility to lower the content, but not always is doing it. This is the sugar distribution. We have seen a lowering of sugar in many products, and this is something we liked a lot. But in others, not so much. Again, field cereals are something special. They have higher fat content, higher sugar content, which is not so good. Fiber, we need more fiber in breakfast cereals, that's for sure. And here we see also that some products have higher values of fiber than before, but some of them, like what's this, cereal flakes with fruit, the level of fiber is sometimes very, very low. And breakfast cereals are seen generally as a source of fiber. The sugar in soft drinks, some of them have lower values, but we have a lot of new products, what I was saying before. No one needs them. Energy drinks, was this different types of energy drinks, many types of the energy drinks with a lot of sugar in them. And this is not something we like on the market. The conclusions were very interesting. We've seen cereals without added sugar. We have seen a lowering of the number of fruit-based drinks with sugar, but unfortunately, a very low number of reformulated products and a very high number of new products, which, as I said before, are not on the healthier side. And we need a portion size. We know that in Europe there is not a unitary consideration about portion sizes. This is something we need really, not only in our country. If we knew what a portion size means, as it is in the United States, it will be simpler to put in place public health nutrition regulations. Now, portion size is something that every producer writes on the package as they feel it or as they find in other countries, and is not something centralized, accepted in all European countries. So the main conclusion was that, at least in Romania, protocols in industry is not something that's enough to draw consistent policies. We need legislative measures. And as a consequence, if since 2023, we have seen a rise on VAT for products with added sugars. We raised the VAT from 9 to 90%, with some exceptions, but sugar beverages and all types of cakes have seen this rise of VAT. Maybe in future we will see something more when it comes to regulations, because obviously protocols are not enough. Thank you for your attention, and now I will stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Professor Zografu, and for keeping also the time and for presenting to us the situation in Romania and put some more question marks. I think now it's a great opportunity to reflect on what we have heard, from regulatory aspects and official controls to scientific consideration behind functional foods, benefits of functional foods, or also regarding the patients, and the trends in reformulation across Cyprus and Romania, and of course across EU market. So we do have around eight minutes for reflection, and I will open the floor for questions and remarks from the audience. Please go ahead. We have 7 minutes, and you can also put in chat your questions in written. Thank you. Okay, I do have here a remark from Dr. Stalo Babutsu from Cyprus. She strongly believes that portion sizes should also be addressed by sex and age group. Can somebody reflect to that? Somebody from the speakers?
Hello. Yes, of course. It's very important to address the different sexes and the age of the groups. And also I continue that maybe is to see in different if we have the ability to have labeling with for different ages, and also to make labels for food that they're not allowed to eat in different ages, this kind of food. So I agree absolutely with Dr. Babutsu, and thank you for the comment.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? If you allow me, yes. Philippos, Mr. Georgiadis, yes.
I'd like to add that fortunately, the compulsory on all processed foods that there is a nutrition declaration per 100 grams for all vitamins and minerals added, so you can use that as a good reference against your age or sexual your level of activity as the person.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Georgiadis. I have one question. We have listened about experience with official controls on functional foods. What would you identify as the greatest challenge for competent authorities and official control laboratories in balancing the requirements of legislation with the needs of the food industry and the expectation of consumers? Is anybody from the competent authorities, from the audience, from the laboratory to answer? Yes, Aspasia Sarandi from Cyprus State General Laboratory.
Well, thank you. Thank you for giving me the floor. Well, indeed, there is a big challenge. I can just share my thoughts, and Mr. Georgiadis, as a representative from competent authorities, he can add if he wants something. Well, indeed, it's a big challenge because competent authorities need to balance a very strict legal framework, strict legal requirements with industry innovation and consumers' expectations. At the same time, for official labs, it is essential to keep up with new and more complex products because functional foods are evolving very quickly. So business operators need to produce new foods. Consumers must have clear and trustworthy information. So authorities must make sure that there is correct label foods in the market, and that depends from the control performing in collaboration with official laboratories like ours. So for this reason, and in order to connect the whole concept with the umbrella under which we are here today, which is the coordinated communication, because we are here because of this coordinated communication project, I think it's a very essential keystone in this whole picture for addressing challenges concerning food reformulation and food functional foods. We all need clear, coordinated information, communication between food business operators, competent authorities, official laboratories, and consumers in order to make sure that everyone understands that there are certain rules coming from legal framework, and there is also science behind it, and we must be accurate and correct at all times. Thank you for the intervention.
Oh, anybody else to ask something, to make comment? I do see in chat from Professor Zougrafou an answer to previous participant regarding sex and age group. So you can see the answer in written. So if there is nobody else to comment, please allow me to conclude. We listen about what functional foods are, the official controls, what concerns and what else has to be done on this. And we will be ready for the next session after a break of 15 minutes. So please stay tuned and be back on 11:30 sharp. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We hope you had a short break and a coffee for everyone. And as we're heading towards the second session, please, I would like to thank Mrs. Hygiene and the lovely speakers for this very, very interesting session. And now we're heading towards the session 2 on sharing knowledge and experience on food reformulation, innovation, and fortification. This time, the chair is Professor Corina Zugravu. Mrs. Zugravu, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Ce asta?
Mrs. Zugravu?
De ce nu-l aud pe ăsta?
We can hear
Ia, vă
you.
rog să ceți în gură și să mă lăsați puțin în pace că am probleme. Eu nu aud nimic.
Apparently, Mrs. Zugravu cannot hear us. We will be waiting for her for a couple of more minutes. Technical issues always do occur, so please be patient.
Mă auziți, dar eu nu vă aud absolut deloc.
Mrs. Zugravu, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you. You could hear me, but I couldn't hear you. This was the problem.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, now we
So
can everything sorted.
Okay, so we are starting the session 2, which has the subject sharing knowledge and experience on food reformulation, innovation, and fortification. So quite challenging subjects. And the first speaker will be Nastasia Belk, which in Romania is a well-known scientist and is the General Director of the National R&D Institute for Food Bioresources. And her intervention has the title Food Reformulation and Potential Food Safety Concerns. Please, Ms. Nastasia, present.
Thank you. Now to share my presentation. Do you hear me? Yes. It's okay with the presentation? So, as you could hear, my presentation is about food safety concern when we formulate the food. Sorry, I hope to. Okay. Why food reformulation? Because we've heard before that there are several problems, health problems in Europe and around the entire world. But in Europe, obesity is a pandemic issue. We could say that is one of the 10 most significant public health problems. Affected millions of people and with prevalence in Europe about 30 to 80% across countries. Also, we have burden of non-communicable diseases, and here we speak about cardiovascular disease, about diabetes, type 2 diabetes, cancer, respiratory disease that has 70% represents 70% of burden diseases, reaching to 86% of premature deaths. All of these are related with nutrition factors, as high intake of energy, saturated fats and trans fats and sugar and salt, low intake of fruits and vegetables, whole grain, and also there are some targeted nutrients by World Health Organization about maximum 5 grams of salt per day, or percentage of energy from saturated fats and also from trans fats that aim at reducing chronic disease risk. there are a lot of actions and initiatives at European level for supporting health, restriction on marketing to children, promotion of healthy early life habits, improve food labeling and school meal standards. Also some guiding in dietary patterns with high in whole grain, vegetable and fruits, low in saturated fats, trans fats and sodium, all of these associated with non-communicable disease. And the role of food reformulation is coming to improve nutritional quality and widely consumed food, reduce intake of harmful nutrients across population, reduce health inequality, and support long-term public health improvement. Why? To respond to public health policies and address consumer demand for healthier plant-based or additive-free foods, also enhancing market competitiveness and brand reputation. I summarized here, I give a definition for food reformulation, the process of changing of food products, recipe or composition to improve its nutritional profile, while of course maintaining safety, taste and consumer acceptance. And I summarized here all type of food reformulation and approaches. There are sodium reduction, sugar, fat reduction, and also energy reduction. And there are also some approaches in reformulation as stealth, that means changing a product composition without advertising it, so consumers do not perceive a change in taste or quality. Also innovative, using novel ingredients or technologies, or gradual reformulation, stepwise, making small incremental reduction in salt, sugar, and fat over the time to improve acceptance and behavior change. There are also some definitions related to regulatory and public health concepts. For example, nutrient profile model. To have frameworks used to classify food based on nutrient content, often guiding reformulation targets. Sometimes there are mandatory reformulation imposed by government, impose some standards requiring companies to reduce harmful nutrients, or voluntary reformulation, industry-led changes undertaken without regulatory enforcement, also encouraged by public health guidelines. Product-specific reformulation term, we heard earlier about portion size reformulation. Also, we have clean label reformulation and plant-based reformulation. Here, I summarized everything in one table with references, and we can see that we could have different approaches, different kind of reformulation in order to have healthy dietary patterns. But there are some food safety concerns in reformulation, affecting especially microbial stability, chemical interactions, and allergen management, and others. About microbial stability, we know that salt and sugar are preservative of food, and reducing these quantities, this can affect bacterial growth. Also, we have chemical hazard coming from new additive or alternative ingredients, which could be harmful compounds. Allergens, new protein introducing can introduce new allergens, and shelf life presentation, I said before about sugar and salt. Also cross-contamination, new production line or ingredients may require revised of hygiene protocols. All of this could lead to managing better safety risk by conduct of quality system, hygienic quality system reassessment, perform shelf life and microbial stability testing, validate processing parameters, and review regulatory compliance and labeling requirements, strengthen allergy management, but most important is periodically staff training. We should balance between health and safety, We know that reformulation can improve nutrition, but it can compromise also safety if not managed carefully. So solutions that are using natural antimicrobials or apply new preservation methodologies, technologies, or optimized packaging and storage conditions. So success depends on careful risk management, transparent labeling, and continuous quality monitoring. We spoke in the last time about food system transformation, including reformulation. We speak about diversifying of sustainable agri-food resources. And we look to alternative proteins, forgotten culture, algae, fish and invertebrate species, insect, and others that are coming with some risks and benefit which should be assessed. Also, we speak about circularity, taking some or recover the nutrients for byproducts or residues, food residues or byproducts. So is needed to have tools and safety measures, preservation method, hygienic models, and control of disease. And from this circularity, we should adapt logistics scheme in order these byproducts to be safety, in order to obtain good and safety food ingredients that should be reintroduced firstly in food, secondly in feed, and after that, if they are not appropriate for feed and food chain, we should use them for non-food application. But we saw about said about protein alternative reformulation. Alternative protein could come from plants, from insect, from fungal, from algae, from lab-grown protein that could introduce new type of risk that traditional food safety system must adapt to. Plant-based protein could come with allergens. We know soy, gluten and pea protein can cause allergic reaction, can come with nutrients and natural toxin like lectins or saponin, with microbial contamination because high moisture and neutral pH in plant-based meats create ideal conditions for bacteria like Listeria and Salmonella. So we need appropriate heat treatment and storage, and of course cross-contamination. Insect protein come with microbiological risk. It may carry bacteria like Salmonella, Bacillus, Listeria, or parasites. Also chemical contaminants, potential accumulation of heavy metals, mycotoxin or pesticides from feed, allergen because it shares allergenic protein with crustaceans, or regulatory uncertainty because safety standards still evolving in many countries. We have also microprotein and fermentation-derived protein from sources like fungi, bacteria, yeast, algae. These are coming with some allergic reactions because some consumers have reported sensitive to fungal protein, or mycotoxin risk. Must ensure non-toxicogenic strains and controlled fermentation, and also microbial contamination. They require the sterile conditions. For cultured meat in bioreactors coming from animal cells grown, cell culture media contamination could appear from a risk of bacterial, viral, or fungal contamination during growth. Also, we use some growth factor serums to substitute that must ensure non-toxic food-grade materials. Novel processing step requires new validation for microbial and chemical safety, and regulatory oversight, limited experience with large-scale safety testing globally. We should understand more to have more knowledge in approaching these technologies. We have a national project harnessing the nutrition, antioxidant, and therapeutic potential of microalgae. We used spirulina and Hematococcus pluvialis. We developed a chromatographic method to identify some markers from microalgae quality for their authenticity. Why you choose this for introducing in as fortifiants in some food? Because they have a low carbohydrate content, high fiber, and in fact, available carbohydrates are maximum 31%. So they provide a low glycemic index, lasting satiety, and reduce the insulin resistance. Also, they contain mineral elements, so they could contribute in prevention and diet therapy of nutritional deficiency. Also, they have a very good content of polyphenols, and from all of these considerant, we developed some new food prototype, low-carb bakery and pastry products with antioxidant potential and based on fermented supports with the addition of 5% of microalgae. In order to promote this kind of nutrients, this kind of fortifiants to be introduced in food. But from different projects that we started with, in fact, a project in 2012, SALUS, about reformulation. From different projects, we identify some hazards in using these algae in enriching food. Firstly, Hematococcus pluvialis and spirulina, as I said before, and for the first one, we know that we choose this source for astaxanthin composition because it's the main bioactive, has a high antioxidant activity, but we could see that at very high doses in animal there are some effects, not too big, but some effects in liver, in pigmentation changes, very rarely reproductive effects, and but also, there are other constituents in this kind of alga, cell material with low risk. They were studied and low risk for health, but possible allergenity being novel protein, but we have limited data in saying this. As extrinsic process hazard, we could identify some microbial contamination if inadequate hygiene at drying and storage. Also, chemical contaminants coming from environmental pollution from cultivation, and process contaminants and oxidation products, especially if we used for oleoresin and there are some residual extraction solvents or oxidation products of astaxanthin during processing and storage. And also could be particle size, formulation issues. It depends on particle size, the influencing of absorption and possible local effect in the body. Speaking about astaxanthin, we saw that EFSA originally relied on daily intake of 0.034 milligrams per kilogram weight body a day. But after evaluation again, now it seems that a higher intake is recommended, about 0.2 milligram per kilogram weight body per day. So it could be seen that the toxicity is not so high, so a higher amount of this kind of antioxidant could be consumed. But it can be seen that at or below the daily intake, no genotoxic concern and no evidence of serious systemic toxicity in human was observed. Only at high doses in animal, it was observed, as I said before, liver weight changes, pigmentation, and some gastrointestinal effect. There are some microbial hazard in here. Is low risk, but there are severity mirrors that of typical form disease infection, of course. For example, gastrointestinal illness or more severe in vulnerable groups. Some heavy metals and pollutants, these are risk depends on the environment safety and oxidation products, as I said before, but oxidation products for this, EFSA has not identified specific toxicological concern. Speaking about spirulina and about hazard identification, we know that spirulina is not an EFSA-assessed novel food because it was used before, and it has several intrinsic properties, high content of protein, but also some high nucleic acid content that are coming with increasing of uric acid level. Also, we know that is rich in micronutrients, and excessive supplemental intakes may interact with some medication like anticoagulants. Allergenity, it was very rare documented cases about immunoglobulin E mediated allergy and anaphylaxis. About extrinsic hazard, it's about cyanotoxins. Spirulina does not usually produce microcystin itself, but can be contaminated with other toxin produced cyanobacteria. We know that microcystin is potent hepatotoxin, and long-term exposure raises concern for liver damage and carcinogenicity. We have some very strict limit in this, like dose response, and we have also other contaminants from the environment, like heavy metal and microbial contaminants for dried biomass spirulina. That can carry bacterial spores, general microbial flora, and all of this, if hygiene is poor, and pathogen could appear. A comparative summary.
Can you come to an end in the next few minutes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Like conclusion, I did some.
Sorry, you have to close your microphone, Lampidona. Okay. I think, Lampidona, you are hearing you. We are hearing you, and we don't need to hear you now. Thank you.
Yes, as conclusions, I put some barriers in food reformulation from industry perspective. As you see, technological, for about safety, shelf life, and sensory quality, about ingredient availability, about costs, about consumer acceptance, high risk of lost sale and brand loyalty, economic and competitiveness pressures, company avoid measure changes, regulatory and policy constraints, supply chain operational changes, and organizational and strategic factors. Also, there are barriers in reformulation process from consumer perspective. Maybe they said this food less enjoyable. Consumer may favor in cheaper, not to be expensive. they could not recognize or value this reformulation. Their option is for original versions. They tend to keep buying the same products. They could reject this kind of project as inauthentic, and also consumer with fewer resources cannot afford this kind of product sometimes. From policy perspective, we do not have a regulatory framework and standard harmonized at European level. And this we have some problem about data transparency, about monitoring, about industry influence to policy, about a lack of economic incentive to support this reformulation, about public communication and trust, and about mostly fragmented integration with other nutritional policy. So reformulation efforts, lack of reinforcement. This was my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Berk. It was very, very interesting. The next speaker is Mrs. Eliza Marchidu, a registered dietitian with degrees in biology and clinical dietetics, that will present a very interesting subject too, meaning Best Remap Cyprus, the food reformulation project I was also speaking before. So, Ms. Marchidu, you have the microphone now.
Thank you very much. And let me start by saying that I would like to congratulate you all for this special event, which is such an interesting joint event with Romania and Cyprus, and also to thank the communication team and the Cyprus communication team for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Ms. Marchidu, you have your microphone closed, so we cannot hear you. Open the microphone, please. You muted your microphone. Now I think it's okay.
Now you can hear me. Sorry. Well, all these things happen usually when the technology is always coming in front of us. Well, I would like to talk a little bit about the problem that we have in Cyprus. The problem that we have in Cyprus about childhood obesity. And the program that we participated, the Best Remark, focused on this problem of childhood obesity. We all know that nearly 1 in 4 children in Europe are overweight or obese. And usually one of the reasons is their healthy diet. Also, we need to focus and see that children are making their preferences during the very first stage of their life. And as they get older, they are exposed to unhealthy food. And this unhealthy food is the food that they find around in the environment, in the place where they live. And it's food that they're high in salt, sugar, and fat that they bring into their houses or they may find in their schools. So the program that we started, the Best Remap, was a program that had dissemination and evaluation on all these issues. And where Cyprus participated was where we did the harmonized reformulation and processed food monitoring. What we wanted to achieve is that we will have a way to find and do a reformulation in products that are high in sugar, in fat, and in salt that will be harmonized around Europe and that they will be easily food monitored. The targeted problems were that, first of all, only a few countries in Europe are able to monitor processed food supply at the brand level. Second, food advertising and marketing to children is currently unregulated in Europe, and it's unregulated in Cyprus as well. And this is a very big problem. and also the lack of high quality food in public institutions like kindergartens, schools, and hospitals, that they provide a bulk of food that they have to be regulated. So we are focusing on these three problems. What we wanted to achieve through this program: to change the food environment for children in Europe. We live in an obesogenic environment, and we should take action and try and change this environment. Try and make the easy food to be the healthy food, so that if people want to buy things from abroad or from anywhere, from a canteen or from anywhere, they should be able to get a healthy food easily. To reduce the impact of harmful marketing of foods to children. Children are very vulnerable, they're young children, and they're vulnerable to the marketing. So we have to control the marketing of food, so we're able to make networks in the field of nutrition and national and EU level. And the main interesting thing that we were participating was to create a food information database with working title JRC Food Database. That was a tool for member states to regularly report and explore national data that is also made available to researchers and public policy advisors. This was the targets that we wanted to achieve. So what we tried to do was to share and promote best practices on how to implement a standardized European monitoring system for processed and food reformulation. So we wanted to share it in between us, the best practices, and do the best we could do to identify the best policy practices to reduce exposure of children to the marketing of unhealthy foods, and develop harmonized protocols to monitor marketing exposure of children, and contribute to the higher quality of menus by ensuring transparent quality of the prepared foods in the selected public institutions. In my country, I will focus on the second one that we need to do in our country to reduce the exposure of children to the marketing of unhealthy food, reformulate the food, but also control the marketing. So we had a plan with target groups. The primary target group was the policy decision makers of national and regional governments. Those are the most important people because they guide the decision, they take the decisions, and they may support it. The secondary target group was the food producers and the industry and the retail sector that we wanted to work with them, parents and youth organizations as well. And the tertiary target group was the civil society, academia, which we need always the support from academia, professional organizations, parents, grandparents, children, and adolescents, which are the individuals, were very, very important to our program. The consortium was a very big consortium. We all worked together, and in Cyprus, we tried to do and expand on this, on the food product reformulation. So let me say that you have already heard that the process, that the food product reformulation is the process of changing the processing of composition of a food or beverage product to improve its nutritional profile or reduce the content of components that burden health. So it can contribute to ensuring access to safe and nutritious food for all and to shift towards healthier and more sustainable consumption patterns. So what we want to do is take the food, try and reformulate it, make it more healthy, don't destroy the taste or any other identifications that the food needs to have, but have a healthier product into our life. This way we can protect people from getting obese, we can protect the nutrition status of people and get away from NCDs. The goals that we put into Cyprus was to work for sugar reformulation, monitor sugar content in food and reduce it. Salt reformulation, because in Cyprus we had a lot of cardio problems and high blood pressure, so salt was a very big issue. Saturated fat, that they block arteries, but they produce also obesity. To look at the industrially produced trans fatty acids, and also to the calories, as we know that obesity comes from high calories. So these were the target that we wanted to work with. And we had, this is in Greek, but I will explain. We had an action plan to work for this reformulation. First of all, we tried to get to select all the information we needed about the food that is around in the market. Then to work with the industries and bring the different industries for salt, for sugar, and for fat, and discuss with them and explain to them why they should be very plus to this thing, because we're not trying to destroy or close industries. We're trying to reformulate food, make it healthy so that people can buy from the industry and feel very nice and also have less medical conditions. And then we started actions by doing conferences and informing people about the reformulation. During the process, we came across to the sugar with taxation. We know that some countries, they had applied taxation on sugary things or food that they have sugar above one level. And as professionals here, we felt that this was a very good idea. So what we tried to promote during that time in my country was to promote this law about putting taxation in food that they are higher than the content of sugar that we suggest, and take the money that is coming from taxation and put it in subsidizing healthy food like olive oil, which the price has gone really high up, or some pulses or some vegetables to subsidize the price so that they can be easily bought, and also to use and do some advertising for healthy food. All this that I'm saying was what we started putting into papers, but I need to say that we didn't go far. I will tell you later what we did. So whatever sugary things we found, we said that they have to be reduced, and if reduced and we find more taxation, we put taxation, so we'll be able to support the food industry and guide them to go to more healthier model of foods. The salt reduction was very important to my country because there was a high sodium consumption that contributes to high blood pressure and increases the risk of heart disease and stroke. And we found that most people consume on average 9 to 12 grams per day, or about twice the recommended maximum intake. The salt intake should be less than 5 grams per day for adults in order to help reduce the blood pressure. And this was accordance with the WHO that recommends the member states to reduce the salt in their food. So this was another target that we worked with. We have traditional food in Cyprus that they're high in salt. Those food, we decided not to touch them because they have their identity, but we could go around to other food and help reduce the salt and try to reduce the level of high blood pressure and cardiovascular diseases that we had. We see that all these have been done in different countries. We took a lot of examples from the United Kingdom that they worked with food, and they found that almost 4/5 of the salt was consumed through the food that we buy. So we thought that it was really very important. And I will go a little bit further down to show that there were so many products that we could use reformulation, we could use the strategies that other countries had done. And sometimes we were happy to say that some local industries in Cyprus, they reduced the salt by themselves without having to implement it to them by law, because it was the demand and consume. The consumers were looking for food, because we were doing a lot of educational conferences to inform the consumers that if you reduce the salt in your food, then you have the better chance to have lowest blood pressure. So they wanted nuts without salt, they wanted food with less salt. So we see now in the industry, we see in the market that we do have food that are very low in salt, very low like cheeses or nuts, without us implementing this by force or by law. But still, we need to provide all these salts. Saturated fatty acids was also one of the things that we should decrease significantly, as we're trying to help people to have a better healthy status, to live longer and also live healthier. Well, portion size and calories, it's not exactly in the reformulation of food, because we're not reformulating the ingredients, but we're reformulating the way of people that they're thinking, and because it will have smaller portion sizes, will get less calories, and then the people can get less intake of sugar, salt, and saturated fats. So we tried also to reduce the portion sizes in suggested portion sizes in restaurants and in processed food. For doing all this, then we had to concentrate on the nutrition labeling, which is another big issue, which I'm not going to go into details, but I will say that we're working hard to provide the system that will be more easy for the consumer to understand, so that the consumer can read the nutrition labeling, get the energy, see the fats, the fibers, the proteins, the salt, the vitamins, and all these that they need to know so that they can easily see them. So we accept the FOP, the front of pack labeling, that it's giving all these informations, so you can get them by just looking at them, and the Nutri-Score, which although some of our Mediterranean food, they cannot be promoted through the Nutri-Score, as it shows products that they're high in fat, that they are not so good in the Nutri-Score. And we do have the olive oil, which is the best food, but it's not an A product in Nutri-Score, but we can also work with it. And we do have the nutritional, the types of claims, the nutritional claims, the health claims, the sensory claims, and the marketing claims, which we're trying to provide people. I will go a little bit further down, because I would like to show you what we are having in Cyprus. Well, we have, by 2020, we had NCDs that they were very high. We had a lot of deaths from cardiovascular diseases. We had obesity, 40%. We had diabetes, almost 50% of our people, they had diabetes, which was a very, very huge number. And then if you look at the children's rates of obesity, we do have very high children rates, 44 in boys, 33 in girls being obese. 55% of our children had cholesterol more than 170, the one that is accepted. And 87% of our children consume saturated fat and overall fat more than the recommended. So you see from these statistics that we need to proceed with the reformulation. And maybe what we need to do is to go back to the Mediterranean diet, back to our tradition. So we're promoting certain programs in schools in order to start with the young generation and teach them what is the Mediterranean diet, because maybe this is the answer to the problem that we share. That if we go to the Mediterranean diet, back to our tradition, then we will be able to have a better life. So we do a program where the children learn about Mediterranean diet, they cook lunch the Mediterranean way, then they invite their parents to join them, they give them speeches about the Mediterranean diet, they invite them to do exercise together, and then they all eat and enjoy Mediterranean food. It's a very successful program. We have a very big demand from most schools for this program. The children get really enthusiastic because they can work with us, they can cook with us, and they get very enthusiastic. So we hope we can preserve our tradition. And let me show you some food for Cyprus and invite you to a hospitality trip to Cyprus. Come and join us for a Mediterranean lunch and enjoy all this food you can see, because all these food are food that are really very good for our health. Enjoy the dancing that they used to have in the Mediterranean life. These are children presenting. These are pictures from the children that they are doing the program and cooking. And I would like to end up saying a few words about the COSI program, that is a childhood obesity surveillance initiative. Maybe some of you know about it. It's done by WHO. It has 48 countries that they participate, and the highest level of obesity is in Cyprus, Spain, Greece, and Italy. So these are the northern countries that maybe they should go back to their tradition. Our percentages go to 43% of high obesity rates. So as the Ministry of Health is responsible to evaluate all these things, we do certain programs to monitor our levels of obesity and educate people about nutrition. So we try to update the national food guidelines, work with the action plan for food reformulation and marketing for children. Because what we want is not to have the children that they sit on the sofa and eat the industrial food that is high food. Because as you can see, in 1990, we have slim people and very fat TVs, and now the TVs are very slim and the people are getting fat. We know it's difficult to change, but we're going to do it because we want to do and have people that they will be slim, live longer in the Mediterranean island, and really enjoy their life because we want to live longer, but we want to have a healthy life. Thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to invite you to Cyprus in the next 6 months that we have the presidency to come and enjoy the Mediterranean food and see what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eliza. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to tell you that unfortunately I need to leave now for Limassol as we're having a big conference about longevity there. So if you have any questions and you want to ask me, I will be delighted to answer.
We were a little bit upset because here is winter, but now that you show us the Mediterranean feasts and dances, we are far more happy. So does anyone have any questions for Eliza? Apparently not. So Eliza, you can leave, and thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. And I will repeat my invitation to come and join us and do maybe a joint conference live here in Cyprus.
By all
Thank you very
means,
much.
we will come. Thank you. The next presentation's name is Challenges of New Active Packaging Materials in Functional Food Reformulation. And the speaker will be Daniela Borda. Daniela Borda is a scientist from Romania, well-known scientist. She's a graduated engineer in food technology and now a professor at the industrial engineering section of the Dunărea de Jos University from Romania. It's in the city of Galați. So please, Ms. Borda, take the lead. We cannot hear you if you started speaking, but maybe you have not.
Second. Okay, now I hope you can hear me.
Yes, but you now yes, okay. It was the microphone was muted, but not anymore.
Yes. So thank you again for your kind introductory, and thank you to the organizers and EFSA for putting up this event. And I'm going to be talking about new active packaging materials in functional food reformulation. So I have organized my presentation following these 7 outlines, and I will be underlining the research results that we have obtained here at the faculty. And probably you were wondering why at a conference about food reformulation, we are talking about food packaging. And food packaging is indeed a hot topic because you cannot talk nowadays about food safety without taking into account food packaging. So food and packaging is an interlinked system and they should be assessed together. But more than that, very often functionality is not coming from the food matrix these days, but is coming from the food packaging or from components embedded into the food packaging. And I would like to invite you to look at this very nice timeline that was recently published. And of course, this is where we can see that Nicolas Appert was the father of canning, but we can also see some very nice evolution of food packaging materials from cardboard up to cellophane from cellulose, and then the Tetra Pak contribution by lamination this cardboard and having the pyramid-like shapes that we also enjoy using today. And basically from 1950 up to 2010, there were very many materials that were obtained from petroleum-based resources. But today, after 2010, the pathway of food packaging was drifted aside this petroleum-based food packaging, and we are now talking about smart packaging. And smart packaging is considered intelligent packaging like time temperature indicators, biosensors, but also RFID tags, while active packaging is also about CO2 scavengers, ethylene scavengers, antimicrobials, antioxidants that are embedded in the packaging. And I would like I would like you to notice that although up to 2010, we wanted to have our food packaging materials as passive as possible, nowadays we want them to be actively interacting with our food. And probably AI will also contribute a lot in the further development of food packaging, and it was going to be providing us more information about the food status, the functionality as well of our food components. So we expect to see more evolutions during near future. But considering now the challenges, I'm going to talk briefly about them. We all know about the microplastics pressure, the microplastics that is associated with petroleum-based packaging materials, and it can take more than 50 years to degrade in the environment. We also need to consider that there is a lot of food waste and resource waste. So basically, according to a report from 2024, 1 billion of edible meals were wasted per day. And also we have to look at the demographic and to understand that the population growth up to 10 billion people in 2050 will put more pressure on systems. Next to green consumerism and also next to recurrent food safety problems. So one of the developments in food packaging was to convert these linear flows that you can see it on the left side into circular flow by recycling and reusing most of these materials. And finally, if we cannot recycle them, just to use them as a means to produce energy. And also consumers, of course, consumers are putting pressure on the food chain because they want their food to be less salty, less sugary, with less trans fats, and also they would like to see little up to zero additive presence in their food. But the paradox is that at the same time, consumer would like to see shelf life extension while keeping their food minimally processed and also having those functional properties given by certain nutrients and ingredients. So the alternative of the petroleum-based packaging materials are called nowadays green composites, and they are classified as class 1, class 2, or class 3. I'm going to briefly talk about the class 1 polysaccharides and proteins. So considering now the proteins alternatives, we can talk about all them together, saying that they are very good in terms of compatibility with food, but they have a limited permeability, and also they have not so good mechanical properties. So they have a lot of fragility, many of them. Carbohydrates are preferred considering their thermal stability, and chitosan was used in many food applications that were developed lately, but also sodium alginate, cellulose, and maltodextrins were used in several developments that we have seen mostly at the research level of packaging production. So when we talk about food and functional food packaging, we expect them to protect our food, to provide, if possible, some active nutrients. We want the food packaging materials to have a good mechanical behavior, also have low permeability and no permeability to microorganisms and other contaminants. Also, we want them to have a limited to no migration of certain components, and we would prefer these packaging materials not to steal from the food flavor or food aroma by scalping. I have enjoyed this morning presentations on functional foods, and it was already said that there is no legal definition on functional food, but I like very much this classification that you can see it here on the right-hand side, where functional can be considered a whole food, a food with added components, a food with removed components, with modified components, and also with altered bioavailability. And yes, this morning, Dr. Papa Michael also have discussed about calcium and vitamin D fortification of different dairy products. When it comes to active food packaging, we consider and we are interested mostly in the antioxidant and antimicrobial presence of compounds. These can provide really functionality to our food, but we also need to very well understand the controlled release of these bioactive compounds, and we would prefer to have enhanced compatibility with the food matrix, but also with the polymer matrix. And some of the antimicrobials that are in trending now are essential oils, antimicrobial peptides, also some minerals. I'm going to be talking only about essential oils that have an antimicrobial effect by inhibiting the peptidoglycan synthesis and by changing the cell wall permeability. And what is interesting is that these essential oils are mixtures of at least 60 bioactive components. So the activity of these essential oils is very difficult to pinpoint. And we can use in the packaging the essential oils by having them introduced in coatings, so thin layers that can cover our food. We can introduce the essential oils into films, and we can also protect first the essential oils, because they are very volatile, by covering them with microcapsules, and we also can design some composite films, some multi-layer films, and I'm going to be briefly talking about that. So these slides here is showing you some active coatings research results, and you can see in the left-hand side some oranges that were coated with chitosan and Valeriana officinalis, and you can spot it here if you look at the end of the storage time after 30 days of storage, that the oranges that were covered with the active coatings were better, far better preserved than the uncoated ones that were already molded after 30 days of storage. We also did some researches here at the faculty, and we have used thyme essential oil embedded into whey protein concentrate matrix with 2 stabilizers, and we looked at the capacity of this coating material to protect the food. And we've noticed that although after the first 2 days, the stabilizer that was made with polysorbat 20 was looking better, after 40 days of storage, the sample that was having this stabilizer with guar gum and Arabic gum was really not looking very nice, and the one that was having polysorbat 20 was looking better. And we have also evaluated the effect of this essential oil on the shell and on the pulp, so both peel and pulp of the zucchini squash, and we've noticed that the oxidase activity, the enzymatic activity, has dramatically increased at the end of the storage time, both in pulp and in some cases in peel. And only the ascorbat peroxidase activity was lower, while the catalase and the peroxidase activity was really high at the end after 40 days of storage. Also, today is very trendy to use electrohydrodynamic processing for obtaining active packaging materials. So we can produce electrospray particles by electrospraying and fibers by electrospinning. We are waiting to see the upscaling of this process at industrial level, because still this way of producing fibers and particles is now available at laboratory scale. And now I'm going to be showing some results of these researchers having fibers that were applied on mushrooms, so ethyl zein cellulose nanofibers loaded with cinnamon and applied on the mushrooms. So you can easily see that after 6 days of storage, the sample that was covered with these nanofibers had a far better appearance than the uncovered samples. And also the water retention was better. Well, I don't know about the taste of having these mushrooms with cinnamon essential oil, but definitely it improved the stability of the mushrooms. We have also considered including thyme essential oil into beta-cyclodextrins, and we have obtained some inclusion complexes that were introduced in some films and coatings. And on the other hand, we have designed a special material, a composite one, with one layer made of whey protein concentrate and thyme essential oil, and the upper layer that consisted in PLA nanofibers obtained by electrospinning. So basically, we have looked for these inclusion complexes at the control release. We have also considered the mechanism of beta-cyclodextrin and thyme nano complex formation. And we have also tried to characterize this new material, composite, that was produced with the electrospoon nanofibers. Of course, that we have measured the diameters of the fibers. You can see here in the left-hand side the material that we have studied, and we have looked to understand the diffusion of the volatile terpenes through these membranes that we have produced. Let me, at the end, just trying to underline the need for the risk assessment. Because, well, first of all, we should say that the essential oil extracts were not designed initially for oral use. So there is still some lack of documentation on the repeated use of this essential oil in the diet, although recommendations are present online. And there is not enough safety information, mostly because there can be interactions between these phenols and the food matrix, and there can be oxidation reaction that could lead to some unwanted and even carcinogenic components. But also, I would like to underline the importance of this new approach methodology that was launched by EFSA officially in 2024, where it is really said that it is necessary to evaluate the nanoparticles by in silico methods combined with chemical methods, but also with biological methods to understand which is the real effect at the organism level. And what I would like you also to notice here is that, for example, there was a report from a French group that was saying that for sage essential oil that was ingested for 2 weeks, there is a need to lower down the recommended dose to 50 milligrams per day compared to the one that was officially recommended previously of 200 milligrams per day. So there are situations when we should better assess the toxicity of some components, and I totally agree with what Nastasia also presented here today, saying that astaxanthin had to be reevaluated, and in terms of essential oil, it is even a far complex endeavor, because we need to deal with a lot of components, and some of them are very volatile, very unstable. So it's really a complicated step forward to have this risk assessment, but at the same time, highly necessary. And at the end, I would also like to say that we also understood that it is very important to perform this risk assessment. And I myself was a beneficiary of the ImproRisk program. And also I was the beneficiary of other risk assessment programs that were organized by EFSA. So I consider those programs an inspiration. So I really hope that next year we will be able to present a complete risk assessment for this essential oil, or at least a partial one. And I consider this a very important topic. So we should consider essential oil as solution for multiple packaging. Consumer trust the essential oils because they consider them natural, but definitely we should look further and to understand if there are any other consequences, negative consequences of essential oil presence in different food products. Also, there is this.
Daniela,
yes.
You can come to
I'm
an end,
finishing.
please.
Yes, of
Thank
course. There is also potential to use these antimicrobial peptides, and this new approach, methodology, and risk assessment should really be the foundation for future food applications. So I would like to acknowledge the team that was contributing to these research results, and mostly my former PhD student, Andrea Lanciu. And also, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now we have our last but not least, of course, presentation. Why are scientific food risk assessments sometimes poorly understood, embraced, and trusted by citizens? We know this is a huge problem, and I see it with my students. The presenter will be Professor Anton Operhuizen. I hope I read it correctly. It's endowed professor at Maastricht University Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology, affiliated with the Nutrim School of Nutrition and Translational Research in Metabolism. Please, Professor.
Thank you very much. I hope you can show the slides and that you can hear me.
We can hear you, but not yet see the slides.
I hope you can. I think I asked you to show the slides. So good morning, everybody. I can't see the slides not yet, but they will come. And I would love to have the Mediterranean lunch with you. I think it's lunchtime in your region. I mainly will connect also with the presentation given by Elisa Markidou. Are you still working on the slides, or?
Yes, Dimitrios is going to load the presentation, Mr.
And I'll present something from the perspective more of the citizens, the consumers. And I used a very long title, which you still cannot see, but the title also could have been Bigger Wallets and Smaller Bellies. I think here it's coming. Good. Hope everybody can see it.
Yes, we see it now.
Okay, good. Can we go to presentation mode? Yeah, perfect. So long title. Scientific food risk assessment. You heard a lot about that already, and I take the consumer's perspective. Why do we not understand, embrace, and trust what is coming out of the risk assessment? Next slide, please. You heard also about functional foods, that there is a definition lacking, but also that actually some definition can be to provide additional health benefits. Don't read the full slide, only the first line. Foods that have been formulated to provide additional health benefits beyond basic nutrition. But the question is, can I be more healthy than healthy? So what additional health effects can be expected? And why not basic nutrition? Next slide, please. These normal sort of diets are containing a lot of fruits, vegetables, grains, a little bit of meat, but definitely some proteins, sometimes from animal origin, nuts, a little bit of fat, and of course, drink. Next slide, please. So in the Netherlands, but also in your country, probably there will be a food advice. Use something like a wheel of 5. Next slide. So compose your diet every day, a little bit around this circle. Drinks, top left, top right, vegetables and fruits. Of course, some proteins and then some grains, all very healthy. Next slide, please. And if you do that, and what we did over the last many years, the average age is increasing, the age of healthy living is increasing. So what is the problem? Why should we change our diets? And in particular, why should we change Mediterranean diets? If you do not smoke and drink only a little bit of alcohol or no alcohol, life expectancy is quite high. The problem mainly is too much. Next slide, please. So the governmental advice would basically be use only this wheel of 5. Sometimes you can do a little bit of extra, but limit your calories, do some exercise, and drink water. Next slide, please. But that is very boring advice. That's what we do already, but we know that, well, we don't drink water, at least in the Netherlands, we drink very little water, and we like other kind of food. Foods which are enriched by something, but usually not very healthy. Boring, but still buying. Next slide, please. So what shall I do as a consumer? Are there easier ways for more exciting diet options to stay or become healthy? The problem with not being healthy usually is too much weight, to high pressure. Next slide, please. So already 3 decades ago, I found this one. One of the most compelling reasons for the widespread interest in functional foods comes from the rather consistent finding that increased fruits and vegetables consumption is accompanied by a reduction in the risk of heart disease and cancer. Well, that was 3 decades ago, and we know that already for a long time. So the advice simply could be, take your fruits and vegetables rather than use functional food products. However, there is 3 decades already of reformulation food and the use of single ingredients, focusing on one vitamin, on one particular type of fat or one particular type of whatever. The interesting paper already in 1999 was Functional Food and Health Promotion, and there is many papers ever since on how is health promoted or is not promoted at all. Go to the next slide. It's not only 3 decades. We know already for 3 centuries or many centuries that food can be very healthy. In Cortes, I think it was organized in the region where you are located. But now 6 out of 10 US citizens, and I think that the number is the same in the Netherlands, believe that functional foods and new health formulations are healthy. So it's not thinking about the traditional food composition and the wheel of 5 I showed you before, but it's thinking about functional foods. That's more or less scary. Next slide, please. If you go from the citizen's perspective, what are the main topics? Why do they take products with functional foods or reformulated products? This is a top list coming from the US again, but I use some other data from the US later on. But energy and focus, I want to be active. Well, if I want to be active, I go swimming, running, and after that I feel very energetic. I lose calories and I gain a lot of energy for doing my job. Sitting and eating candy is not very helpful in that. Gut health and digestion, if you take enough fruits and vegetables and a regular diet, probably the gut health issue is very limited. Brain function, not so many chemicals are reaching the brain. So what is that? I will not go into details here. I go to the next slide. I found this one, again, from the consumer's perspective. I use Google and I try to find functional foods or healthy foods. This is the first pop-up I find in the internet. The top 10 functional food trends. Quite recent, April 4 this year. And I will show you a few of them. Next slide. Number 1, active living. I told you before, we need energy since we sit all the day. And if we're going to walk to the restaurant, we need something like shown on the next slide. We take, next slide, please. This is advised for active living. Honey stinger and energy waffle, also with peanut butter. Yeah, this contains a lot of energy, but it doesn't give you probably any energy. You will lose all your activity when you take this, if you're sitting all day. Next slide, please. Number 5 in the list of 10, feeling good. Wonderful. I like that. And the product advice here is, next slide, please. Take something like this. Yeah, feeling good. Again, a lot of calories, a lot of energy taken in. We are already overweighted. But the good thing, or you can see here on the slide, is that it is gluten-free. Very good. So, feeling good, gluten-free. What else can you take on? Can you think of? Next slide, please. Yes, overweight. That's the big problem. If we relate it to cancer and cardiovascular problems, it's overweight, the main issue. But there are not so many products for reducing overweight. I'll show you on the next slides. Weighting in, number 2 in the US, number 1 in the Netherlands. Lose weight. Next slide, please. And we have a lot of problems with hydration in my office, and every train I am in, I see people with a lot of bottles, usually not water, but something else, since we are going to be dehydrated all of a sudden. And I was younger, 20, 25 years ago, nobody was dehydrated. Anyway, these are the numbers 2 and 3. Okay, we have solutions for that. Next one. We can drink something like poppy. What else do you like? It's absolutely perfect according to all the pictures I saw on the internet and the movies. Buy now. You can buy it from the internet, also regular shops. Only 5 grams of sugar. Next slide, please. And it is really the freedom to love soda again. This one is shown on the page I showed you before, or the top 10. So there's a top 10 of concerns, and this product is one of the potential products you can take as a functional food. It's only 5 grams sugar or less and only 35 calories. Please stay a little bit with this slide. 5 grams of sugar. This product seems to be quite focusing on children. If you have 3 cans per day, you're already up to 100 calories. 100 calories is more than 10% of the calorie intake for a child. So only this product can easily contribute to the maximum advised by the WHO. Next slide, please. Overweight for children is also sky high already, not only in the US or in the Netherlands, also in your regions. So why drink poppy? Next slide, please. Why not water? It's a lot cheaper, but children seems to be not used to drink water anymore, since all the other products are easily available. But of course, poppy is more than only sugar. Next slide, please. It contains prebiotics. Well, that sounds great. And the prebiotics, as you can see in the pink text, are fibers of cassava and agave. Wow. Prebiotics from agave and cassava. What? Next slide, please. This is agave. You cannot put that in your glass, so you have to make an extract of it. And next slide, please. Cassava, I know that product very well. I consumed it quite a lot when I was in Africa, but what is the health benefit of cassava? Actually, there's quite some kind of warning. Don't take too much, maybe every second day or so, but not too much. And then agave again, agave syrup. You can buy 5 liters of it in the Netherlands for about 16 euros or so. Is this the healthy prebiotic? Next slide, please. A quite recent review here. Only read not only the title, but the first 2 lines of the highlights. Agave syrup contains a high concentration of fructose. Great. I don't like fructose at all. Probably one of the worst sugars. But anyway, the second line, even at low dose, fructose can induce negative effects to human health. Is this the meaning of a prebiotic in the definition of a prebiotic? Probably not. But these are the only things which are added to the sugar. So what is going on here? Next slide, please. Maybe we have to approach it from a different perspective. When I studied toxicology in the 80s, I also studied economics. And this was what we did with economics, marketing, product, price, people, promotion, and place. Those are the critical 5 P's and sometimes 7 P's of marketing. So let's first go from right to left. Place and promotion. These are the people who are promoting poppy drinks. You can find them on TikTok. and you can buy them by any kind of internet provider. Next slide, please. So why are people interested in that kind of products? Yeah, they are maybe concerned about their health. They want something healthy, but also natural. They want to decide on themselves, not only following the advice of the government. If something is good for children, and this marketing is focused on children, that's probably also good for adults. And the marketeers, the bloggers, vloggers, try to be more or less your friends. They want to raise trust. And the product is unusual. It's not a boring thing advised by the government. So people may go in that direction. So factors influencing risk perceptions are familiarity, yes, natural products, vitamins, referring to cassave and agave, maybe sound good, but it's also an unknown product, which is also some kind of interesting. I can choose it voluntarily. It's natural. It's not necessarily artificial. So more or less it sounds good. So the marketing is really going to the trust and the controllability of the consumers. Next slide, please. And sometimes they want to add something like indoles. Yeah, I showed it on one of the previous slides in the agave question. Indoles. It sounds scientifically proven or something, and they combine it with something familiar, so a vegetable or fruit. So the marketing is really combining the more or less scientific proven functional food part as well as the familiarity. Next slide, please. But if we combine this kind of knowledge, and now all this is from the internet, it's not, I don't have to go for the Web of Science for this kind of insights. If I buy 1 liter of poppy, it's 5.4 euros at least. That's the minimum price I found in the Netherlands. If I drink 1 liter of water from the tap, it's about 1 euro cent. Quite a big difference. And I consume then 0 calories. Also a big difference with 3 cans of poppy. If I take bottled water, maybe the price of something with some kind of taste is about 41 euro cents. So 5 euros difference per liter if you use only the traditional fruits and vegetables. They are more healthy and they are much more expensive. Very cheap, sorry. So let's look at the market then. There is a marketing reason. And here you see the fruits and vegetable market in the US rising. And if you look at the bottom line, so below in the subscript, you see it's about 100,000 million, so about $100 billion. Expecting to increase further. This is the market for fruits and vegetables, the raw products. If we go to the next slide, we see that healthy foods and drinks market is about 320 billion US dollars compared to regular fruits and vegetable markets of 115 billion. So the market of healthy food and drinks is already twice as big as the regular market. And in Europe, we are not that far. Usually the US is a little bit ahead of us, but we are going into that direction. Very expensive products with very poor health quality. So suggestions about why scientific food risk assessments sometimes are poorly understood, embraced, and trusted is big business is taking the market. They have the functional food market and new formulations. Very big market, very strong, very good in advertising, and very good at targeting the audiences, in particular the younger ages. The functional foods which are on the market at the moment do not refer to any extent to reducing cardiovascular problems and cancer problems. I showed you before in the slides that were originally the main reasons, but they don't work into that direction at all. Aging is the main factor. Please. No, please, can I have the slide again? No, the last slide. And have the last slide.
There is no last slide.
No, the last slide with text. Number 20. Yeah, go. There's one. Please let it. The marketing of products is also very much on positive perceptions of the. As of course, they want to sell it, they want to make money, but they also want to be trustworthy. They really want to connect, to go into your life. And as governmental agencies, usually we have some distance. Warning about risk assessments have to compete with the marketing, and usually we are really on different audiences. If we communicate as a governmental agency with our audience, it's only the interested audience, which like to look at some details. And we have to make it a little bit more fancy. And I was quite impressed by the presentation of Elisa Markedou with the schools, where they did combine the healthy food with something else. So make it more, make it easier for your audience to incorporate the food, the healthy food with the normal lifestyles. The marketing and the producers of the functional food products, which are available on the internet and marketed, are really not interested in health at all. They want interested in your wallet. So these facts will not easily be understood, embraced, and trusted if you are only informing people by the outcome of risk assessment. You have to do a little bit more to make it more familiar in the normal life that normal drinking water is healthy for you. It sounds boring, but if we look for the communication part, we have to find ways to understand better what can be incorporated in the lives of normal citizens, which are basically healthy, but behave unhealthy by adding a lot of these functional food products in their new diets. And with that, I like to close. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a very interesting presentation. And now to wrap up this session, I'll say a few words about every presentation. First, we have the presentation of Nastasia Belk or Professor Belk, very interesting. It covered extensively the concept of reformulation. Why? What were the drivers? The obesity, the non-communicable diseases, the rise in the number of different killers of the modern world. We needed more weapons, and here reformulation comes in place. However, we have to balance health and safety. This is a phrase I will take with me, because we cannot make people healthier just by modifying nutrients, but on the other hand, making some mistakes regarding safety. Then we had the reformulation project of Cyprus, presented by Mrs. Elisa Markedou. They started from the higher numbers of obese children. We can also see in our country, I've seen the figures from COSI. In Cyprus, we have a smaller number of obese and overweight children, but quite a lot. And what was interesting, at least for me, it was the inclusion of feasts with Mediterranean food, with dances on, and all this kind of stuff that drives younger generation towards what it was the Mediterranean tradition. Because I see, and I think everyone sees, that in the Southern Europe, young people do not embrace anymore the traditions that were connected with a longer life, a healthier life. So it was lessons to be learned by all of us. Then Daniela Borda brought to our attention something very new, packaging. and how packaging helps us eat healthier. And it was very interesting regarding essential oils and what they can do in order to preserve in a better way our food. And last but not least, the presentation of Professor Anton. That was very, very close to my heart because I see that common sense advice has no consequences on people. It's boring. It's something not interesting. They want something new. And now we have a dehydrated planet that needs advice to hydrate. We have prebiotics from, I don't know what was there, cassava and something like that, instead of onion and garlic, where we have plenty of prebiotics. So we have to market somehow our health advice in order to get people to adhere to this advice more gladly and not to be drawn by marketing, unhealthy marketing practices by different producer of new functional foods. And it was a phrase, what are these functional foods after all? Healthier, what do we want? To be healthier than healthy? And I see frequently that we have to boost our immunity. And as a medical doctor, I'm paid for such a phrase because more immunity might draw autoimmune diseases. So normality and maybe looking to tradition will be healthy for all of us. And thank you. If there are questions, then I'll pass the microphone to the organizer. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We're open for any questions. You can either raise your hand or write in the chat. Any questions? Oh, there is a question on the chat. Quickly. Yes, we will be provide you the information, presentation by email. Yes, Ms. Codrinao, yeah. And also this session will be recorded. The whole event has been recorded. Any other question? So if, as I can see, there aren't any questions available, there aren't any questions, I will just make some quick wrap up of what we heard today about three main things that we heard about today's function. Number one would be possibly that functional foods are evolving very quickly. The food business operators want to innovate, while consumers want to clear, trustful information on the on functional foods. Another one would be the authorities that must make sure that all products are safe and correctly labeled. Foods and whole foods, like in the Mediterranean diet, are also functional foods. And the third point that I've actually spotted, and that's regarding to communication. There's a coordinated communication amongst other stakeholders is beneficial, is for the benefit of consumer, and basically it's a keystone. Consumer needs, of course, clear information on functional foods to understand and to trust the science behind them and feel confident with the food they consume. With all, oh yes, Ms. Spinelli, please.
Yes, thank you, Dimitrios. Allow me to thank all the participants and especially the speakers. Thank you very much for such an interesting joint event with Romania and Cyprus together. And if you are okay to open your cameras and have the so-called family photo, if you want, and we will end our event here. Dimitrios?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you.
Maritu. We'll just try to. Oh, that's nice to see the lovely people in my screen. Fabulous, a great idea actually. Mrs. Maritu, I'll just try to take a photo of this to a print screen. That is fantastic. The photo was taken. Resuming, I would say, as we conclude today's events, how trans and functional foods are reformulating modern diet, I would like to express our heartfelt thanks to all participants, speakers, and organizing for making the session both insightful and impactful. We'd like also to acknowledge and thank the State General Laboratory of the Republic of Cyprus, the National Sanitary, Veterinary and Food Safety Authority of Romania, and of course the European Food Safety Authority for its valuable support. Just before we wrap up, I would like to tell you that there will be a questionnaire be sent to you to evaluate this event. So we would like to hear your honest opinion about how you felt and what can we do to improve that on our next event. Thank you once again for your participation and dedication, and we're looking forward to continue this important conversation and seeing you at future events. Have a lovely day.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye. Nah.